Welcome to another episode of Driving Leadership. Today we're not going to get in the car. Today we're not driving, but we have a really special guest, Mayor Ben Walsh, City Mayor of Syracuse, New York, and here we are right in front of City Hall today. We're going to get to have a conversation to understand a little bit more about political leadership in a small city in central New York, his love and desire for this community, and really, well, what makes the mayor tick as far as his motives and his desire to be a leader in central New York. He's a great guy, gonna love the conversation. Come on, let's go. Mayor Walsh, thank you so much for this time. I really appreciate it.
Sure thing.
I don't think you're a priest, but I want to confess to you that
Okay.
I don't get to work with a lot of political leaders.
All right.
So in our work of working with leaders focused in Syracuse and central New York, organizational leaders, I'm curious, maybe you could talk about leadership in politics and how that works in the community and what you maybe see in organizations. What are the similarities and what are the unique differences, perhaps?
Yeah, I think there's more similarities than differences.
Cool.
Relationships are critically important.
Yeah.
That's one of my most important rules. Is you have to build and maintain and nurture relationships.
Yeah,
and I think that perhaps in the world of politics, that can be more challenging because of whether it's political party dynamics or the need to get reelected. It's just another layer of a relationship that you have to manage. So, but the rest of it is, I think, is largely the same from surrounding yourself with good people, being willing and able to make difficult decisions, but also listening to different perspectives, making sure you're aware of your blind spots. Things, again, I think that transcend industry when it comes to leadership.
Yeah, I love that. What from a community relationship building perspective, what have you found that's like really worked well for you?
Well, it's when I first ran for office, one of the things that I took a lot of pride in is that most of the places that I was walking into, whether it's a community center or a neighborhood, were places that I had been before.
Yeah, so cool.
And because of that, and that was through the fact that I've lived most of my life here, that I've done a lot of volunteering, I've had different jobs in different industries. That allowed me to be able to have a network of people representing different constituencies that were the credible messengers within those constituencies that could say, yeah, I've seen this guy before. He's not just showing up here because he wants to be mayor.
Right.
He's been here before. He cares, and I'm willing to vouch for him.
I love that. That familiarity is a really strong starting point for relationships. So what got you in this space of leadership to begin with? Like, why this path?
Some have suggested it's a genetic defect because
Actually, I think I've seen those studies. No.
It is in the family.
That's cool.
People talk when they refer to my family. Oftentimes, they'll say that I came from a political family, and I'll talk about that history. I like to say that I come from a family of public servants, because while my father was in politics, he served on the Syracuse Common Council, he served in Congress for 20 years. His father was the mayor as well back in the 60s and served in Congress. But if you look beyond those two very high-profile family members, you'll find hospital administrators, social workers, teachers, lawyers, judges, all different types of service. And so when you grow up surrounded by people like that, I think, I mentioned blind spots. I think one of my blind spots was that I didn't even know that it was an option to come across a problem in the community or a problem in general and just be able to ignore it. I grew up being surrounded by people that if they saw something that was wrong,
they dove in,
they fixed it, or they tried to fix it. So that was just ingrained in me. That's the genetic part that just was always a part of me. And so I grew up looking around my community and my surroundings with a discerning eye to say, what's working, what's not, and how can I be a part of helping to address what's not working. I say that right now as mayor, this is the best opportunity that I have to do the most good in the community right now, but it's not the only opportunity. And that's true for everyone. I encourage everyone to just, wherever you are, how can you do the most good, and then wherever you want to go, take that next step with an eye towards, again, how can I help? And so I'm term limited. I'm done in a year and a half. So my next objective is to figure out, where else can I do good? But this is a great place to do it, and I enjoy it very much.
So we're really interested in getting more people to see that they could potentially lead.
Yeah.
And not everyone sees that.
Right.
And someone might look at the mayor's office as like this,
Yeah.
just grounded advice you think would help folks understand maybe path to leadership or their potential. What would you want to share?
Yeah, well, I think leadership comes in a lot of different forms, and I think people would be surprised to find out that they may already be leaders in their own right.
Love it.
It may not be in the traditional sense. It may be, that they are leading a Bible study group, or maybe they're kind of the informal de facto block captain or mayor of their own street that kind of takes care of people. So I would encourage people to look inward and think about what are the things that you do in your life that where leadership is an aspect of it. Maybe you hadn't thought about that before.
That's a little bit like start where you are.
Exactly. Because I suspect, again, most people would find that somewhere. And then think about how you can, whatever skills that you bring to the table that are helping you to lead in whatever way you're leading, how can you apply those to other things, and maybe and push yourself. One of the things, when I ran for mayor, I was 38, I think 39. A lot of people questioned that maybe I was too young, maybe I didn't have enough experience, and undoubtedly I had some of those, my own doubts about that.
Sure.
And I still do. But I really believe in pushing yourself out of your comfort zone in order to really test yourself. But that's how you grow too. And I think people assume that in order to be in a leadership position, you have to bring all of those skills, you have to bring all of your leadership qualities to the table on day one.
Yeah.
It's impossible. Any leader, any good leader will tell you they learn and they grow every day. So you don't have to have it all figured out.
Love it.
You just have to, like you said, start where you are and then push yourself to build upon that.
I think it's so important, and that really helps demystify leadership. So many folks think you need all the answers, you have to have the expertise in everything.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's relationships, it's connection.
Yeah.
It's, I don't want to say this wrong, but really utilizing the skills of people around you and your own.
Absolutely. You cannot, the people that think that they have to have all the answers, you don't. And people who think they have all the answers, they don't. It's cliche to say surround yourself with good people, but I'm a big believer in that. Not just because there are a lot of people that are smarter than me, that know more about certain subject matters than me, but also people see the world and see problems and see leadership through different lenses, depending on their own life experience. And inevitably, you have blind spots. And so if you can surround yourself with people that cover some of those blind spots, that have experience that you don't have, it's only going to make you a better leader. And I firmly believe that a critical key to leadership is acknowledging and being willing to admit when you don't know something or when you need help. And I do that every day.
Yeah, you got to admit your fallibility. You got to admit what you don't know in that space.
For sure.
What are you doing to grow and develop yourself as a leader? What do you actively do?
Well, I continue to push myself out of my comfort zone. You would think in this job that it's that it comes easily. It doesn't.
Somebody could think you arrived.
Right.
Like you're done.
Right.
But you don't take it that way.
No, not at all. And I maybe to a fault, I take things personally. And so if I'm, I mentioned going down the street and seing things that are wrong. I feel
responsible.
I do. I feel responsible. And so that keeps the fire lit inside of me to continue to try to do more. So again, I think it's the same thing that I did when I started, which was just to push myself to grow. And I just believe that every experience you have, positive or negative, is a growth experience and ultimately helps you to become a better leader. So for me, it's just never getting comfortable, never getting overconfident. Always, it is important to acknowledge the successes and to give yourself some grace. But I think it's also important to really push yourself.
I love it. So I could sit here all day with you. Let's take a little bit of walk outside around the community a little bit.
Beautiful
and chat.
day.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I might see some problems that need fixing.
Let's talk about them. If you do. All right. Awesome. is it about Syracuse and the uniqueness of leading in the town that you love and the place you grew up in for you?
Yeah. Well, a few things come to mind. Number one, it keeps you humble because you run into people that have known you for your entire life, long before you were mayor, and they'll be quick to remind you
Maybe
of that.
people that change your diapers, right?
Right, exactly. No doubt about it. And so I love that about being mayor in my hometown. But I think what I love most about this town, you look around and it's that it has such beautiful architecture. It has such amazing history. There's so much to build on, but part of that history is tough. You know, when you look back in recent decades, our community has gone through a lot of economic trauma.
Sure.
Industry has left. People have lost jobs. Poverty rate is unacceptably high, and in that trauma, in that loss, there's a lot of toughness and resiliency that our community has. That I just love it. The grittiness, the realness, the authenticity of the town and of the people is just something I haven't seen or found anywhere else, and there's no other place I'd like to be.
Oh, I love that. I don't know if this resonates with you, but I think it's Salt City for other reasons, right? It's a little salty.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt about it.
There's a little bit of a hard shell, but the gooey center.
Oh yeah.
It's just like warm and amazing.
Hearts of gold.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's really cool. It's really cool. Take a little walk.
Yeah, let's walk.
Yeah, because it is beautiful. Beautiful day.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm one of those guys who actually, middle of January, it's gray and it's snowing. It's a beautiful day too.
I agree.
So, it's you got to.
Yeah.
Syracuse, right?
That's right. I tell people that complain about the winter, you pick Syracuse, you're here, make the most of it.
Absolutely.
I say that some of the prettiest days in Syracuse are the days when there's a fresh coat of snow on the ground.
Yeah.
So,
really, if you don't like the weather, wait a minute.
Exactly.
It's going to change.
No doubt about it.
It's pretty quick to change.
It is. We got a good one today, though, for sure.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Yeah.
So yeah, we're on Montgomery Street here. One of the fun things about this job is being able to see how things have changed. And I go back to my previous job in neighborhood business development. I was involved in helping Recess get open. I was helpful in getting the beer garden open.
Yeah.
And so, in those moments where I get frustrated about certain parts of the city and things that aren't done, I try to remind myself of how many parts of the city have changed so dramatically over a relatively short period of time.
Yeah.
I was looking at a social media post that had historic pictures of downtown in the 80s.
Yeah.
Downtown was rough in the 80s. I think most people, when they think about downtown in the past, they think about the 50s and 60s, which is really, that was our boom town era downtown. But then people forget that there was this huge gap where things were really rough. And when you walk around now, it's hard to find a building that isn't fully occupied.
Yeah.
The amount of residents that are down here now has grown exponentially. It really is a neighborhood, and it feels like one.
Tell me how I'm going to use the word balance. I don't think that's the right word, but how do you manage that? How do you balance that? How do you manage that? How do you remind yourself you're doing great things?
Yeah. I mentioned, being surrounded by people that I've grown up with that are good at keeping me humble. My friends, I went out to dinner the other night with some good friends from high school we just had a lot of laughs and I do things that I've done for my entire life. Hang out with friends, spend time with family, and just be myself. And that's what got me to this point.
Yeah.
And what I've found is when there are times when I've gotten away from who I am as a person, my core values, those are the times when I'm not at my best, and when I'm being myself, that's what got me here, and that's why I feel like I've been successful as mayor.
That's awesome. Your core values. Stay grounded to those.
Mm-hmm.
Relationships.
Yep.
Community.
Yep.
What else is in your equation for your success? What do you think people need to understand about leadership to be successful?
Yeah, I think faith is important.
Yeah.
And not. I think everyone has their own unique faith journey, and so mine has certainly been that. It's maybe not the most traditional, But being able to have those conversations at the end of the night, and know that the world and the universe is much bigger than me, and what happens in the city grounds me.
Yeah.
And again, I think keeps me humble. But I think otherwise we covered it. Again, surrounding myself with good people at home and at work.
Yeah.
See, we're probably gonna have to trim these branches.
That's right.
There's
an opportunity, right?
But you'll see if you spend enough time with me is I take my phone out.
Yeah.
And one of the things I'm proudest of that people would think is silly is creating this Sear City Line app. I didn't create it, but it's basically for years you could call City Line and call in service request problems.
Right.
Now there's an app for that, and so I can literally
it's
and
SYR City Line.
We're gonna do it live. So
all right.
So turn
and
the camera on.
We're gonna drop a link to this in the.
So low hanging branches. So we're gonna take a picture of them. I'm gonna hit use photo.
Yeah. Oh wait, it drops a pin.
So
kind of
drops a pin. It's usually pretty close.
Yeah.
Actually,
Okay.
Very close. Yeah. So we're on water right now. So this is close enough. So we'll hit next. Then we're going to punch in tree care and removal.
That's awesome.
Select answer. We're going to just request a little pruning. We want the tree here, just a little pruning.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, well, look at that.
You can decide if you want to be anonymous or not. I don't, because when they see my name next to it, hopefully it'll
get done.
They'll be motivated to get it done quickly. And boom, we're done.
Look at that.
You don't have to know anybody. You download Sear City Line. You can do that. You can do it for potholes. You can do it for almost anything you want help with the city for. There's an app.
You're gonna regret you showing me that. That's now a game for me.
Oh, I'm a super user. Trust me. And my staff will painfully attest to that. No, I encourage people to. We can't be everywhere.
Yeah. Right.
Think about the force multiplier of all of our constituents being their own code inspectors and DPW inspectors. And look, I can point to a lot of great things in this community. I can point to a lot of problems. Same with everybody else, and they can help us identify the problems that maybe we haven't found yet.
In my language, that's leadership, empowering the community, empowering their people, really to take care of the business, take care of the community.
We have internal dashboards. Someday they might be external dashboards. We have internal dashboards.
Oh, sure. Okay.
You may have noticed when you walked into City Hall, right in the mayor's suite, we have a screen that rotates through all of our city service dashboards. So we have service level agreements, basically. We'll go this way.
Okay, great.
Where, that say, okay, when we get a pothole complaint, we have to fill it. I think our service level agreement is within 3 days. Okay. So we track that for every request, and I have monthly meetings with department heads where we look at where we are.
Sure.
Make sure we're largely meeting that benchmark. If we're not, we talk about why.
Yeah.
And so it's also all of the data that's being captured in here is helping to ensure we're holding ourselves accountable and our constituents can hold us accountable. It's just that,
right? It's an accountability metric.
Exactly.
There's a process in place. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it breaks down barriers too. Again, you don't need to know the mayor or reach out to my office to demand a pothole be filled.
Right.
Put it on City Line. We'll have it done within a few days.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think so.
Mayor, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Awesome.